Hey everyone, it's Connor back from this old farm, and I suppose it's about time we make a video for you guys. So we got some fairly good news. If I turn the camera around here, you can see our little splitting stand, and that means that our M Diesel is on his own 2 feet here. I'm kind of working on cleaning up the mess. He's all put back together. I didn't film it for you guys, and I'm sorry about that, but I just kind of wanted to get it back together at the time of when I was doing it. I wanted to get it put back together, and we were kind of, at the time, I was still kind of fairly sick with COVID. If you didn't see my post there, the family did get a little bit of a wiping with COVID-19 in there, and I'm pretty much over it, and I think mostly everybody else is too, which is good. So we're coming up on the end of our 10-day quarantine dealio thingy, but anyways, that's beside the point. That's no matter to you guys. What matters is this thing's getting out of here, which is awesome. It's wonderful that this is done. The only problem I have is we have no motor oil at the farm. So either I'm going to have to go get some somewhere, because I'm not going to put that grubby old oil back in it. That's just not, no. That's not something you do. This is actually, you guys are going to probably gripe at me for this, but probably about the first oil change in quite a few years that this thing has had, because with that rear main seal leaking so much, every time you were adding oil in it, at the end of every day, it was down to the add mark on our dipstick down there. So we finally changed the filter for the first time in quite a few years. There's the old O-ring that went around the base of the oil filter there. That other ring that's sitting there is the O-ring that came with the filter that's in the housing. And I ended up having to use a filter or an O-ring from another filter, because that one was too big for some reason. It had a big old bulge on it, we'll call it, when I went and put it in. So it did not fit. This one it is a hair tiny bit big, but it was enough that the filter housing squished it down. So we got a new oil filter in it for the first time in, gosh, who knows how long. And now we just kind of need to get oil in it, and I can't do that at the moment. So I could maybe go buy some, but it's not the end of the 10 days, so I probably shouldn't go in the store. I'd probably be fine, but your people would probably be fine, but we'll stay on the safe side, and we'll just pull this thing out. Now, the next piece that's going to come in here, because now things are going to start just constantly rolling in, I'm going to try and knock some stuff out here. Although I'm not going to, this next project, I don't know how much I'm going to work on this, but our next project is going to be our John Deere 350 little track loader, whatever you want to call it. That's got to go into there because we have a fuel return line that has got a hole in it somewhere. You can see the hood is off of it. It's actually in the barn. And we want to get that fuel return line, which is somewhere back there along the firewall, fixed, because otherwise it's constantly, when we run the machine here, that's always leaking oil, or not oil, diesel fuel. It's the diesel fuel return line, what brings the fuel from your excess fuel from the injectors back to the fuel tank, which is right there. You can see where it's been spilt in the years. So that's going to get in there so we can fix that, because we have been unable to get into our silage pit because it's been so mucked up in there. It's been so, we had a couple days where it got sort of warm out, and it kind of unthawed the snow, and basically we've kind of torn up the entrance to it, and so we can't get in and out of the silage pit. So we need that dozer in order to get the cattle silage, and that's kind of a big part of their diet is come on, chair. This is why I shouldn't do stuff while making a video. That silage is a big part to our cattle's diet, and so with them not getting that, it's kind of a hindrance. Plus, they don't get as much feed then, and it kind of makes more work for us because we have to substitute with other items. But besides that dozer, our next project, which doesn't have to go into that shed, is going to be our 806 diesel here. Now, I've touched on this a little bit, but what we have to do with that is we have to put in some new O-rings, but we have to take off this battery here, and behind it there's what they call a steering valve. It has to do with or steering control valve, I believe they call it. It has to do with your multi-control valve there and the whole hydraulic system of this tractor. And I believe that is leaking back there and is causing our hydraulic leaking issue. You can see there's a lot of oil that's on the side of that tractor, and I believe it's coming from that steering control valve. Now, another project that we have that's not farming related that I'm going to film for you guys, or I shouldn't, it's farming related, but it's not tractor related. It's actually going to be a change up because this channel seems to be everything but tractors, and I don't like that, so we're going to change it up a little bit. We have this Gale Bale 1500, and this makes 5x5 round bales, and you can see it's in rather rough shape. We had a problem with this. There's a shaft inside this cover, and I'm not going to take that cover off because it's kind of difficult. That runs from the gearbox there. So you've got your PTO line that runs up there, and then that gearbox 90s the point of power over to here, which then drives some chains, and basically it does. It runs the entire baler. And we were having some issues where that shaft was misaligned, causing the chains inside that cover there to try and hop off their gears. So what I did is I went through and fixed that. I took out the bolts, loosened up the bolts on the gearbox, took a jack and pushed it that way, and that caused it to kind of turn a little bit, and it's pretty straight now. But now what we have to do is we have to go through and do some belt replacement. Now, we're not going to replace them with brand new belts. We're going to put on, we have the ones from our Vermeer baler, which is up there behind the shed. We have the old ones that we're going to put on this. Now, the only thing is this has nine belts here, I believe it was, that we counted, and the Vermeer only has 6 that are this size. It has 8 total, but there's 2 on the ends that are about the size of 2 of these put together, and I don't have one that you can, they're about the size of those guys there. I believe they're down on the bottom there, you can't see them. So we will have to keep at least, what is that, makes 3 of these not very good belts. We'll have to leave 3 of them on, or we have to order 3 new ones and put on. And I think Dad was actually thinking about, or I thought he had, was to buy 4 new ones, put 2 on the ends, and then put the not so great ones from the Vermeer in the inside, and then we'd have an extra belt. But that's a project that we have to work on. We also are trying to figure out some sort of setup with this here so that it's maybe not such a hand. I don't know. I'm not too sure what we're going to go with that. It'd be nice to have a hydraulic cylinder, and actually the cylinder on our grain drill over there is what came off of this, but the setup on it is a little bit messed up, and I think something's been goofed up here with this, the way this frame rail has been bent. I don't think that's supposed to be the way that is, and so that's kind of what we're looking at with this here. I also got a flat tire on the other side, but other than for that, we're just kind of, the idea behind getting this thing going is to have a spare baler, or I would like to have a second baler to run on the farm here so that I could run that if the availability comes where I'm not having to rake while Dad is baling, which is usually what happens. But it would be nice to have a spare baler in case the Vermeer comes down and we have hay to bale up still. It'd be nice to quick bounce over to this one. So that's going to be an upcoming project. Maybe after we play a little bit of Implement Jenga, I'd like to get the Vermeer put in here because it's currently been sitting outside since roughly December when we last used it. So what I'd like to do is move our sprayer, which we don't really use anymore, over there, move the grinder, our Bearcat grinder mixer to where that is, put the Vermeer where the grinder mixer is, and then put the Gale bale right back here again. So that's kind of an outlook at some of our projects. Another project we have is the Farmall H, not Cushing, but the mow. We have to do a coolant flush on it. Let me take my thing. A coolant flush on it. We have to replace the thermostat in it, probably the upper radiator hose, and then a governor spring replacement. Now the governor spring replacement won't be so hard because that's just a couple bolts on the cover of the governor, and then you can get that replaced. But the other bits and pieces that have to do with the, let's flip the camera around, here he is, that have to do with the coolant and stuff are, that might be a project that has to wait until spring, or we have to do that in the shop with it heated up. But that's not as important as the John Deere dozer is, so that's going to sit, which this actually is going to have to get pulled out of here, out of the shed, because this is where I'm going to put the diesel. This is where the diesel normally gets parked during all seasons, because that's what we use to square bale, because it's such a better machine than the H is on the square baler. But we had to add the H on the square baler this year because, of course, the diesel was down. And then of course, we got those two projects there, but that's well, that's a subject for another time. And we got a dump truck to work on. There's projects galore here, but that's kind of an outlook of what's coming up. Super M, I wanted to touch on that. We'll kind of come over here as I get there. I called the machine shop, what was it, the end of last week, roughly. I think it was Friday of last week, so a week ago today. And they said that, so when I dropped it off at the machine shop, there he is. When I dropped it off at the machine shop, they did a magnafluxing right in front of me while I was there, and we found a crack that was in one of that kind of went through the valve, or the I don't know what you want to call it, the seat for the valve seat, essentially. And they wanted to clean it up, I should say. They didn't clean it. They wanted to clean it up and then reassess the head. And what they discovered was they wanted to pull off the valve seat too. And they discovered that the crack went through where the valve seat sits, which we kind of figured to begin with, but it went even further down into what he called the valve cup. So we're going to have to, he's going to attempt to work or fix it. He's not sure if he's going to be able to repair it. He was supposed to get it on the bench today, but I'm not sure. He said something about he had some block boring to finish up with doing, which I think is Mr. Squatch 253's starting engine stuff, pony motor stuff for his D2s, I think, because he brought his stuff to the same shop. But anyways, hopefully they are going to be able to fix that. If not, I've still got that cylinder head off of the Farmall M that my good friend Cody sold us. So if anything, we'll resort to that. I really don't want to use it, but if we have to resort to it, we've got it to use. And yeah, this thing should be going back together here pretty shortly too. Maybe within a matter of weeks, we'll see. They have to do an oversized valve seat on that for that valve then, and I'm not sure if they need the valves. We'll need the valves, or if they're going to put a new one. I'm not sure what exactly that plan is, but that's still a couple weeks ahead of us yet to get there, because that shop is very, very busy. So that's kind of what I wanted to touch on that Super M too, because that's some sort of good news. I mean, we're getting along here. We're finally getting someplace. We got a shop that actually seems to know what they're doing this time. So that's kind of an outlook at our projects that are coming up. What's finishing? The M Diesel's finished, obviously, and it's coming out of here hopefully tonight. And then yeah, we'll be moving on to new projects. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll talk to you all next time. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Stay around. Another thing I want to touch on quick was we have, and you might have probably, oh no, I had a paper towel that just dripped into the thing of oil. Doggone it. I wanted to touch on, and you'll have seen it at the beginning of this video more than likely, is my channel has been monetized. At the end of last week, got approved for monetization, which is basically, I will be making money off of YouTube now. Those advertisements that you see, if you don't know what monetization is on YouTube, which that kind of usually, most videos are. But monetization on YouTube means that advertisements get played throughout your video or at the beginning, throughout, and after your video, and the creator, me, gets a certain percentage of the money that gets made from that, clicking on that advertisement, whatever, however they get the money for that. So with that monetization, I really hate doing it to you guys. I don't like having the monetization on my channel because me, myself, as a viewer on YouTube, absolutely hate the advertisements. But that basically will essentially benefit you. The money that I will get from YouTube, which isn't gonna be much at all, will be put to a new camera I'm working on right now. I'm trying to save up for a newer camera to have I shouldn't say substitute to the GoPro, but kind of a substitute to the GoPro. Something that I can not film with the GoPro, because as you guys know, the GoPro is not great at nighttime filming, and it's not great for focusing in on parts and bits and stuff, and you can't zoom with it. And so I have there's what they call a Sony Handycam, in case you're curious, that I'm working on purchasing, or that I'd like to purchase, and having this monetization is only going to help us getting to that point of purchasing it. So I'm sorry about the advertisements that are now going to be on my videos, but just know that it's going to go to help your guys' viewing pleasure. So I guess that's all I got to say for you guys. That's all I wanted. That was pretty much all I wanted to touch on. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys all next time.